You've felt it, haven't you? That strange shift in the room when you speak your truth. The way conversations suddenly go quiet, the uncomfortable glances, the forced smiles that don't quite reach their eyes. What you are experiencing isn't coincidence. It is fear. Your evolution is making others deeply uncomfortable, and they can't even explain why. Here is the devastating truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew about strength. The very qualities that make you powerful are the same ones that make weak people want to destroy you. But why does this happen? And more importantly, how do you build a mind so unbreakable that their discomfort becomes irrelevant? The hidden war against your awakening. Right now, there is an invisible battle being waged for your mind. Every day, society launches thousands of subtle attacks designed to keep you small, compliant, and desperately seeking approval. Most people never even realize they're under siege. Think about it. When was the last time you shared a deep thought and weren't met with awkward silence or someone trying to change the subject? When did you last express an unpopular opinion without feeling the weight of collective disapproval pressing down on you? This isn't accidental. Friedrich Nietzsche understood something that most philosophers missed entirely. The greatest threat to human potential isn't external oppression. It is the suffocating embrace of collective mediocrity. Here is what is really happening. Every time you grow, every time you think independently, every time you refuse to accept ready-made answers, you become living proof that transformation is possible, and that terrifies people who've built their entire identity around staying exactly where they are. They don't hate you, they hate what you represent. You are walking evidence that they could be more than they are, and that possibility haunts them. The chaos inside that birth stars. Nietzsche wrote something that most people completely misunderstand. You need to have a chaos inside you to give birth to a dancing star. This isn't pretty poetry. It is a psychological diagnosis of exactly what separates the strong from the weak. Look back at your life. When did you grow the most? Was it during those comfortable moments when everything was going perfectly? Or was it when you were completely shattered, lost, having to rebuild yourself piece by piece with trembling hands? The uncomfortable reality that no one talks about. Real strength isn't born from comfort. It is forged in the furnace of controlled chaos. Most people run screaming from inner turmoil. They medicate it, distract themselves from it, or blame external circumstances for it. But here is what they don't understand, that chaos isn't your enemy. It is your raw material. Every breakdown is actually a breakthrough trying to happen. Every moment of confusion is your old self dying so your true self can emerge. Every painful realization is another layer of illusion being stripped away. But this process requires something most people don't have. The courage to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. To see suffering not as something to avoid, but as information your psyche is trying to give you. When you change your relationship with pain, when you stop asking life to be easier, and start demanding that you become stronger, something profound shifts. You begin developing what I call unbreakable resilience. The death of external validation. Here's where Nietzsche gets truly dangerous to comfortable minds. When he declared God is dead, he wasn't attacking religion. He was diagnosing the death of all external authorities that people use to avoid taking responsibility for their own lives. The terrifying truth that changes everything. There is no cosmic parent figure coming to save you, validate you, or tell you what your life means. Think about how most people live. They're constantly looking outside themselves for permission, for approval, for someone to tell them they're okay. They follow rules they never questioned, believe ideas they never examined, and live according to values they never chose. What happens when you stop doing this? When you realize that no one is coming to rescue you from your own life. When you understand that every external authority you've been following is just another human being, often more confused than you are. Panic, complete existential panic. But here's the secret that transforms everything. This terrifying freedom is actually the greatest source of power you'll ever discover. When you truly understand that you are the author of your own meaning, the creator of your own values, the architect of your own destiny, you become genuinely dangerous to systems that depend on your compliance. You stop asking, "Is this allowed?" and start asking, "Is this worthy of who I am becoming?" You stop seeking permission and start taking ownership. You stop being a consumer of other people's dreams and start becoming the creator of your own reality. The Übermensch, your dangerous potential. Nietzsche had a vision that most people find deeply unsettling. He imagined a type of human being who had transcended everything that keeps ordinary people trapped: guilt, shame, the desperate need for approval, the fear of standing alone. He called this evolved human the Übermensch, often translated as Overman or Superman. But this isn't about superhuman powers. It is about something far more threatening to the status quo: complete psychological independence. Picture someone who creates their own moral code instead of blindly following society's rules. Someone who doesn't need anyone's permission to exist authentically. someone whose sense of worth comes entirely from within, making them impossible to manipulate or control. Imagine how terrifying this person would be to those who profit from your insecurity, your compliance, your desperate need to fit in. The Übermensch doesn't adapt to the world, they impose their vision on it. They don't ask, what will people think? They ask, what will I create? They don't seek comfort, they seek greatness. But here's the price. This transformation requires you to kill parts of yourself that still beg for acceptance. You'll have to face the bone-deep terror of not belonging. You'll have to carry the weight of building your identity from scratch, with no guarantees and no safety net. Most people can't handle this. They'd rather live as slaves to other people's expectations than face the responsibility of true freedom. The terrible beauty of solitude. Here's what nobody tells you about becoming mentally unbreakable. The stronger you become, the more alone you'll feel. This isn't because you are antisocial or broken. It is because you've outgrown the invisible cage that most people mistake for community. You've stopped playing the games that bind groups together: gossip, complaint, mutual validation of shared weaknesses. Nietzsche understood this perfectly, he wrote. The individual must always struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try, you will often feel lonely and sometimes scared, but no price is too high to pay for possessing yourself. That phrase, possessing yourself, is the key to everything. Most people don't possess themselves. They're possessed by their need for approval, their fear of rejection, their desperate hunger for external validation. They're living according to someone else's script, following someone else's values, pursuing someone else's definition of success. When you truly possess yourself, you become self-sovereign. Your worth isn't determined by other people's opinions. Your direction isn't dictated by social pressure. Your peace isn't dependent on external circumstances. But this self-possession comes with a price. You'll lose people. You'll be misunderstood. You'll hear that you are arrogant, cold, difficult. They'll try to shame you back into the fold. The raw truth that separates the free from the enslaved. If you cannot stand being alone with yourself, you are not ready for freedom. Because real freedom always comes with abandonment. Abandonment of comfortable lies, convenient excuses, and relationships built on mutual weakness, rather than mutual strength. The war against mediocrity. Here is what Nietzsche feared most: not tyrants or dictators, but something far more insidious: the slow-motion tyranny of collective mediocrity. This is the invisible force that keeps everyone leveled down. It rewards conformity and punishes excellence. It disguises cowardice as virtue and calls weakness wisdom. It creates a moral system designed to protect the mediocre and condemn the exceptional. You see this everywhere once you start looking. The way people instantly try to bring down anyone who is improving themselves. The way success is treated as somehow morally suspect. The way ambition is reframed as selfishness, and strength is labeled as arrogance. This isn't happening by accident. It is the defense mechanism of a culture that has given up on greatness. When you start to break free from this system, you become a walking threat to everything it represents. Not because you are trying to hurt anyone, but because your very existence proves that transcendence is possible. Your strength exposes their weakness. Your courage highlights their cowardice. Your authenticity reveals their pretense. And that is exactly when the real attacks begin. They won't come at you directly, that would be too honest. Instead, they'll use the weapons of collective mediocrity, social pressure, subtle shaming, the gradual erosion of your confidence through 1,000 small cuts. They'll make you question whether you are too much, too intense, too different. They'll try to convince you that your growth is actually selfishness, that your standards are actually judgment, that your strength is actually arrogance. The price and power of being unbreakable. You've made it this far, which already sets you apart from the majority. Most people would have stopped reading the moment they realized, this isn't feel-good content designed to stroke their ego. This is a call to arms for those ready to abandon comfortable illusions and face reality with clear eyes. Building a mind so strong that it becomes feared is not just a choice. It is a complete renunciation of everything our culture tells you to want. You will lose friendships built on shared weakness rather than mutual strength. You will lose opportunities that require you to compromise your core values. You will lose the ability to be satisfied with a mediocre existence. But in exchange, you gain something that can never be taken from you: unshakable integrity. You'll start to notice that most people live in a kind of psychological sleep, and your clarity becomes genuinely frightening to them. Your presence will make others uncomfortable because it forces them to confront what they're avoiding in themselves. This strength doesn't come from motivational videos or positive affirmations. It is forged in the silence of difficult nights, in choices nobody sees, in the daily decision to choose growth over comfort. It is the result of an internal war between who you were and who you are becoming. And this war never ends because the truly strong aren't those who have won. They're those who continue fighting, even when they could choose to stop. Your declaration of independence. Nietzsche didn't want to create followers. He wanted to ignite internal revolutions. He wanted you to stop crawling for approval, stop begging for meaning, stop looking for salvation in systems created by people just as lost as you once were. He wanted you to become dangerous, not in a violent way, but in a way that is so rare, so authentic, so uncompromisingly real, that your mere existence forces others to look in the mirror and confront what they've been avoiding. The ultimate goal isn't to be feared. It is to be so completely yourself that fear becomes irrelevant. When you reach this point, you stop needing anyone's permission to exist. You stop measuring your worth by other people's reactions. You stop allowing external circumstances to dictate your internal state. You become what Nietzsche called a star dancing in the chaos, someone who has found their center in the midst of uncertainty, their strength in the face of opposition, their peace despite the storm. The transformation begins now. Here is your challenge, your test, your moment of truth. Stop hiding who you really are. In the comments, share one truth you've been afraid to voice. One opinion that makes you feel isolated but represents who you genuinely are. One thought that goes against the grain but comes from your deepest knowing. This isn't just about engagement, it is about practice. It is about learning to claim your voice, show your presence, and declare that you will no longer bend to make others comfortable. Because here is what I know about you if you've made it this far. Something inside you has already begun to change. You are not watching this just out of curiosity. You are here because you recognize something true in these words. You are here because you are tired of being small. You are here because you are ready to build something unbreakable. You are here because you understand that the path of authentic strength is lonely, difficult, and absolutely transformative. The truth that will define your future: you are not alone, you are simply ahead. And that, my friend, is both terrifying and liberating. The question isn't whether you are ready for this transformation. The question is whether you are brave enough to stop pretending you have a choice. Your awakening has already begun. The only question now is how far you are willing to go.